Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you're new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face, hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So I hope that's why you're here, because that's what's going to be happening today. If you are not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and continued support. Really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have my weekly wrap up. This is from September 11th through September 17th and all my reading shenanigans in between. But I have some non-reading shenanigans that I would like to talk about at some point in time because they were fucking dope. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, and let's get talking some books. Okay, so I had a good reading week. I completed 4 books this week. Hell yes. And I also had a really fun little vacation sort of thing that I'll talk about later, but had a really good week. So let's just dive right into the books. The first book I completed this week was my Buzzword Challenge Book of the Month. Ha! Yes! I finally completed that fucker. Thank you. Yes! I completed The Dark Crystal by Jim Henson. I gave this a 3-star, and let's see if I can get to actually stand up. It's not wanting to stand up right now. There we go. So I gave this a 3-star, and I need to make this very clear. This is actually not The Dark Crystal, the book. This is Dark Crystal, a novelization of the 1982 film that was released by Jim Henson. So I did not know that going into it. It said a novelization. I just thought it was the book, but then I did some further research. I'm like, oh, this is not the actual book. This is literally the screenplay put in a novel format. So once I knew that, I started to enjoy the book a little bit more. So quick little backstory. I'm a huge Dark Crystal fan, have been for years. I love Jim Henson, but I picked this up because I recently started rewatching the Age of Resistance, Dark Crystal Age of Resistance on Netflix because I freaking love that. And that is all prior to this story. This is way after that miniseries. So if you only know or have ever heard of the Dark Crystal because of the Netflix miniseries, this is what actually happens after. This is the film. So I highly recommend watching the film. It's great. However, I really like the miniseries a hell of a lot better. Just saying. But we're not talking about movies and miniseries. We're talking about this book. This book, so let me set this up. The Skeksis, which are these nasty looking fucking dudes, but they're cool shit. And I love them. They're like some of my favorite villains ever. The Skeksis Emperor has died, and the conjunction is about to come. And you find out what the conjunction is throughout the story, but I don't want to spoil it. Just know that it's on its way. And Jen, our main character, is the last Gelfling. And a Gelfling is kind of like a little mini elf with some long noses and some big eyes, and they have the fairy-like ears, but they're itty-bitty little things. Itty-bitty. The Gelfling were eradicated by the Skeksis long before to prevent a prophecy, which is that the conjunction would come about due to a Gelfling, and the conjunction would literally be the end of the Skeksis rule. And so Skeksis, prior to this, have tried to eradicate all Gelfling. That's where that series comes in, Age of Resistance. It's about the battle between the Skeksis and the Gelfling. Jen is sent out on a mission to locate the missing shard of the crystal. This missing shard will make the crystal intact, allowing the conjunction to happen. And that's literally the prophecy. So he's kind of the chosen one. This has a chosen one trope. But as he leaves his little realm of confinement that has kept him safe since the resistance has failed, he believes he's the only last Gelfling. But he comes across our female character of Kyra or Kira. I believe it's pronounced Kira in the film. And she's been hidden by the pod people, which are these other little people that have like kind of taken her. They're smaller than Gelfling, but they have their own distinct language and they don't speak Gelfling at all. And that when they meet, that's when our adventures ensue, and they work together to complete this prophecy. Except Jen literally has no idea what the fuck is going on. He doesn't know what's going on in the film. He sure as shit doesn't know what's going on in this. He is literally kept in the dark from everything. It is the chosen trope. It's the classic chosen one trope where you are destined to do great things, but I'm not going to raise you with this knowledge. I'm not going to tell you fuck all, and you have to figure it out on your own. After the one guy that could have told you dies. So that's the Dark Crystal. What works is this this fulfilling the prophecy. It lines up with that chosen one trope perfectly. So it is the perfect trope for this kind of storyline, but if you are not a fan of that trope, you won't like this book because it follows it. I mean, it's like textbook chosen one trope. And what didn't work in this is I like this better than I like the movie better than this. This was a better movie. Now, with that being said, I have never read the actual Dark Crystal novel. I read the literal screenplay put into a novel format. So, I may go and actually pick up the Dark Crystal, the actual story, one day. But for right now, I think I'm just going to enjoy my childhood just a little bit longer with the Dark Crystal, the film. And if you've never seen the Dark Crystal film, go watch it. It's super fun. It's a good fucking time. And it's kind of dark. It's kind of dark for puppets. Because it is filmed just like The Labyrinth, with the puppets, with the puppeteers and everything. Yeah, it's a good one. But the book, I like that I have this for my collection because it does go with I have two others of these. I have The Labyrinth in novelization form, and then I have some short poems and stories by Jim Henson. So it does go with my little collection, and I like that I have it. And I like some of the graphics that I get to see from the creator studio in this. So I did enjoy this rendition for just the posterity of having it, but reading it, watch the movie. Watch the movie. All right. So the next thing I completed was an audiobook, and it is Going For It by Liz Mattis. This is the sequel to the second installment in the fantasy football series that when I bought this series, I got all 4 installments in a little like box set via Audible. So that's why I decided to go with it. And it is another audiobook done by Christine Padavan, and it's a football romance. So the summary of this one is we follow Hannah and Jake, both characters we met in the previous installment of Playing for Keeps. And Hannah was Samantha's best friend, and Jake was the running back? I'm pretty sure he's the running back. Yeah, he's the running back that worked with Ryan. So we're already very familiar with both these characters, and this book picks up right where that book leaves off, with, you know, their HEA, happily ever after, and these two who had broken up in said first book now get reconnected, and that's where the story picks up off. But they try to make a go for it, hence the title, Going For It. Try to make a go for it for a real relationship. And it's just because Jake is about to get traded. He's talking about getting traded, and Hannah is a supermodel. So she's always in the tabloids, but she's getting older. So she has to really maintain her appearance because in the supermodel world, you know, like 30 is old in this book. And so the rumor mill is constantly going, and Hannah comes from a really shitty background, and her mom's a piece of shit, and kind of sells her out. Says that there's no way she'd ever be in a serious relationship. She's only in it for the money. She did nude photos when she was younger, and Jake is like, is this true? Because their first fight was her wanting to do Playboy and him having a problem with her doing Playboy. So the rumor mill affects their relationship, and it's back and forth, but surprise, something happens that I can't tell you because it will spoil the book for you. I gave this book a 2.5 star, which is the exact same rating I gave Playing for Keeps. There were things that worked in this book, but there were also things that didn't work in this book. What worked in this? Jake's character. I really like Jake. Jake's a fun time. Jake's a good guy. I loved the dominance that he portrayed in this book. I mean, he did not pull any punches, and he didn't let Hannah, he called her on her bullshit every fucking time, and I thought it was great. I love a dude that will call you out, but not make you feel stupid when you do it. That is awesome. I love that trait about males. And I know females can do it too, but when a male does it and he doesn't do it in a condescending, douchebaggy way, you go. Good for you. Good on you. And he definitely takes a step back and lets Hannah handle her own issues, but makes it known to her that I'm here if you need me. And I really, really appreciate that about him as a character. It's fantastic. So he's what worked for this book. I like Jake. Jake's a good time. I like him. I didn't like the voice that the audiobook narrator gave him. It was kind of cringy. Again, cringy. I don't feel that she was a good narrator for this series. This series is not dual POV. The first installment wasn't, and this installment isn't. So I understand why they didn't get a male narrator, but I feel like if they would have had a male narrator, then it would have gone just a little bit smoother. Because as the female, she doesn't do a bad job. She conveys it, her tones, she did a good job, especially for Hannah. She was a lot better with Hannah than she was with Samantha, but I feel like just her guy voice is just, it's like me trying to do a guy voice. It's just bad. It's bad. But that's not her fault. That's the way the book was written. What doesn't work? Audiobook. I feel like I would enjoy this more if I physically read it. So yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself because I've got 2 more of these things. And I'm like, damn it. This, But, you know, I paid for it, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fucking do it. This one also suffered from the same thing that the first one did, the cringy dirty talk. There was one scene. I'm never looking at Cotton Candy again the same way, but it's not for a good reason. At least the first one, I'm not looking at Inner Thigh Machine the same way for good reasons, because that gave me ideas. This thing, fucking Cotton Candy, motherfucker. Okay, so I gotta set this one up. She's in this pink cotton candy looking dress, and he says, wow, you look like cotton candy, and you taste like it too. No, she fucking doesn't. No. Oh, it was a very cringeworthy scene. And then as she is saying his name, I get this cringeworthy statement. I got one in the first book saying, can you say my name when you come? Instead of asking this time, he says, say my name like it's a prayer. I'm sorry. What? I love the dominance that he had, but say something different. I just cringed. Immature giggles all over the place on some of these sex scenes. Which was sad because the actual actions and descriptions of the actual intimate scenes was fucking hot as hell. Damn! They were good! But then she says cringy fucking things like that, and it just kills it. I'm like, I'm an auditory person here. I need the good. I need it. I need it to make that work. And it just didn't. It fell short. Another thing that didn't work was Hannah. So not her character, but her backstory. We get to know a little bit more about Hannah's backstory, which was really cool. But she has a very traumatic backstory, and it's just kind of like glazed the fuck over. It's just dropped and like really never mentioned again. This girl suffered sexual trauma, and you're gonna just be like, yeah, it's there, move the fuck on. Get fucked. What? No. Like, I don't want to see it, but that was definitely something she could have utilized. We could have built on that, and we really didn't. It was just kind of there, and then just bleh, like it was nothing. No, I was not cool with that. Not fucking cool with that at all. Not cool with it. And the last thing was, there was this really hot sex scene. I mean, she drove 3 hours to go see him at training camp, and like kind of like a 3-hour trip booty call. I was like, fuck yeah, this is great. Sex in the locker room right after practice. He's still in his pads. Bring it on. Yes. Football sex. And that scene got ruined for me. It got ruined because they brought up the idea of protection, and her being a supermodel, very cautious about her appearance. The entire book, she watches what she eats. She's very cautious. She never goes out without makeup. She always has her makeup done, her hair done. No one ever sees her not put together. She's very, very aware of how she looks and how she carries herself. publicly because her job is her. Sex comes up, asks about protection, and she says, it's fine, don't worry about it. What? 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 No, I don't feel like the character that Mattis created for Hannah would say shit like that. I don't think for a second. I don't think that way for a second. And that bothered me. Because I'm just like, no. You don't play Russian roulette that with shit. That's not something you play Russian roulette with. Do people do it? Fuck yeah, they do. Should they? Probably not. Probably not. But also the fact that she's not on any type of birth control at all, which was kind of weird because it's actually stated that she's not on anything. So that just didn't seem to work with her character, nor did it really seem to work with Jake's character, because Jake, although he was a very decent guy and he was very dominant when it comes to sexually, he always had a straight mind. Like, it didn't feel like it overpowered him. And so it was just like, really? Really? Okay. And that unnerved me a little bit. So, you know, after that, I was just kind of like, we're just going to finish it. We're going to finish it and get through it, because I wasn't a fan of that at all. I don't have a problem with people who have sex without protection, but don't bitch about the results if you get it. You know, like, you don't get to complain about it. You knowingly did it. So, yeah, I wasn't a fan of that at all. Now, spice rating, this got a 3. 3 chili peppers. Very graphic language, although kind of cringy in some parts. Some parts, though, really fucking good. Mattis hit a nail on the head. I was like, Jake with his dominance and the setup for some of these dominant scenes. Yeah, the mirror scene. That was great. And then he said some fucking cringy cotton candy shit, and I was like, and I'm out. Deuces, I'm out. That was bad. But the fact that there was a crap ton of sex scenes in this book, there are more in this one than there were in the first installment, because their whole original basis of their relationship in the first book was sex. It was just supposed to be a wham bam, thank you ma'am, have a nice day. And that was that. And here's the thing about the sex scenes with Jake and Hannah. In the first book, Hannah calls Jake and is obsessed with his voice. Wants him to dirty talk to her on the phone, and that's how he gets eventually over there, because he just can't, he has to come over, okay? So he is supposed to have this amazing, guttural, sexual voice, and the voice that the narrator gave him did not sound like that. I really believe this book failed when they did not get a male narrator for this, because one of Hannah's major attractions to Jake was his voice. And I can understand this because I'm that chick. I'm attracted to voices, okay? Always have been, always will be. Men's voices are fucking sexy as fuck, okay? They are, especially certain ones. They're just, shivers. Love it. So, this book would have gotten a higher chili pepper rating had they had a male narrator as well saying the stuff. And it might not have sounded as cringy. So, yeah, that's my experience with that. Now I got 2 more in this series. I probably will read them, but I don't know when. I don't know if I'm going to continue with them this month. We'll see, though. We'll see how I'm feeling, because they are audiobooks, and I already have them, and they're sitting in my library. So, yeah. Okay, the next book I completed was actually another audiobook, and it is Existence by Abbi Glines. Now, I was not wanting to start another Abbi Glines series until I finished the Field Party series, but I had this in my Audible and it was a freebie, and I was like, you know what? I couldn't tolerate going on to the 3rd book in the fantasy romance or fantasy football series, so that's why I picked this one up, because it was the next one I had, and it was the only one that I had that legitimately was a first book and you did not have to read anything before it. So I was like, okay, I like Abbi, we're gonna go for it. This is the first installment in the Existence trilogy. It is a paranormal romance. There's a love triangle. There is some allusion to suicide, and I'll get into when I mean allusion to suicide later, and there's images of mental illness. So there are some triggers in this one. This thing, nothing like the Field Party series. Nothing. I should have known. I should have known this, and I didn't. But this was a good time. This was a really good time. So we have Pagan Moore. Not a fan of that name. I'm not a fan of it. She's a girl who can see dead people. But she never talks to them. They never talk to her. And she just kind of pretends they don't really exist. Until one day she sees a soul and it starts to speak to her. Except this soul is not your normal soul. This soul is death. And we know this because that is in the summary of the book on the back of the book. And when you go to Goodreads, it literally says death. So we know this soul that's talking to her is death. Pagan gets upset at school and leaves school one day and gets into a car accident. She is saved by death, which starts off this chain reaction because she wasn't supposed to be saved. And you learn this very, very early on in the book. Once she has been saved, she starts to begin this relationship with a boy named Leif. And Leif becomes the warmth to her cold, while death is the other side of the coin, because we start seeing Pagan walk this line of she's kind of just existing. She's not really living, but she's not dead. She's just existing, aka the title. There is a lot, I don't know if Abbi did this on purpose, but there's a lot of symbolism in this romance book. A lot of duality of, you know, what it is to be alive, what it is to be dead. And throughout the book, we start seeing this romance between Leif and Abbi, and then we have Death and Abbi. So we have this little love triangle forming, which, cool, party, awesome. But the book really focuses, Abbi, throughout the entire book, talks about how warm Leif is when Pagan is around him. She latches onto him for warmth. She just feels at peace and ease and back to kind of her normal self. But when she's not around him, she feels lost and cold. But when Death is around, and we call him Dank in the book, that's his character's name, is around, she doesn't feel warmth, but the cold that she feels from him is warm. She feels the same thing, but she knows that he's a soul. So it's this really weird line, and it's really fucking cool the way Abbi does it. I really enjoyed that concept, because throughout the entire of the book, I was really wondering what was going to go down. Like, which side of the coin was this bitch going to fall on? Like, I had no idea. It gave me very Sixth Sense vibes and gave me very Final Destination vibes. And if you ever seen Final Destination, you know what happens. So, and, you know, Sixth Sense, there's a big twist. So I was wondering what was going to happen. Were we going to have a twist? Were we going to have, you know, a Final Destination sort of style thing? Like, where was Abbi going to go with this? So really, really enjoyed the not knowing part of this book. And normally I'm not a big fan of that, but for this it worked because I was with Pagan's character kind of walking this line like, what the fuck am I doing? What worked in this? The plot. Girl's marked for death, but saved by death because he's fallen in love with her, and now her life is in constant peril because she has broken the coven, the promise. Her time has come, and he prevented it. He broke the rules. He's supposed to take her, and he didn't because he loves her. So I really, really liked this concept. I liked it a lot. I liked where Abbi went with it. I loved Abbi's description of the temperature. That's where she really uses it to really talk about this feeling of, am I alive? Am I dead? Existing type deal. Is she really conveys it through temperature descriptions, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was really unique. I had a good time with it. Very much enjoyed it. And then this bitch gives me a fucking twist that's out of fucking left field, and I'm like, what the fuck? And that twist worked, and it also didn't work. It was one of those that for some, this is totally gonna work. It's gonna hook you. For me, it hooked me. For some, it's gonna be fuck this, I'm not doing this. You just made me feel weird this entire book, and now you're gonna fucking do this shit to me, cliffhanger style. Yeah, not doing it. So it's definitely one of those dual side coins, which is pretty much everything in this book. Everything is a dual side coin. And I love how Abbi does that. She takes this concept and she threads it through every part of the book, even if it pisses you off. She's not afraid to piss you off. And I like that. I like that about authors. I like that when authors do that. What didn't work, and this is, so I get why Pagan starts to fall for Dank or death. You see it throughout the trials and tribulations that happen after the accident. What you don't really get, you get this insta-love with Death and Pagan. There's not a lot of scenes with them together prior to that accident. So when he started to fall for her, why he started to fall for her, we don't really know. And you don't really get a lot of clarification about it afterwards. You get bits and pieces, but it's not enough to really solidify that this was genuine love developing over time. It just kind of solidifies it's insta. He sees her, she's cute, she's pretty. Oh, I'm gonna like her. There's one instance in the beginning of the book where he actually talks about a character trait of her that generally makes him stop and think, you're different. But that's it. So I didn't really like the insta love on behalf of Death and Pagan, but I liked the genuine build-up of the love that Pagan started to develop for Death after. So I think Abbi should have given us both sides, but she only gave us one side. The other thing that didn't work in this book is how long it takes Pagan to figure out Death is Death. We know going into the book. As the reader, you fucking know. All right? You know. She doesn't figure it out until, like, literally damn near the end of the book. So that gets really fucking irritating. It gets really, really irritating. Because she's constantly asking questions. And you constantly get told, I can't answer that. I can't give the answers. It's not your time to know. But I, as the reader, already fucking know. I already know. And it's not like I figured it out. It says it on the back of the fucking book. All right? Like, come on. So, her not knowing that he's Death is really irritating, but the questions that she's asking gives you more to his side of the story because this is only told from her point of view. So all the questions are giving us kind of his side of the story coming in from other perspectives because he can't obviously say anything to her about it because, you know, that's a rule that he is not going to break. But he breaks the ultimate carnal rule by saving her. So it's a little annoying and irritating, and that bothered me a lot. It didn't bother me enough to stop reading, but it towards the end, I'm like, this is irritating. He's fucking Death. All the signs say it. It's all pointing here. It's not like big red neon sign. Like, are you that stupid? And she's not a stupid person. She's very intelligent. There's multiple times in the book where they talk about how intelligent she is, and she's not fucking getting it. So it's really irritating. That was annoying. And then what didn't work is the twist for some people. This twist is so out there that it probably won't work for some people. So just be warned. If you pick this up, be warned. And it is like the end of the book twist. End of the book. We're talking final line twist. Final line. Not kidding you. So, yeah. But now, because this twist worked for me, I'm wondering where the fuck she's going to go with this next installment. And I'm definitely going to be checking it out because I want to know. That hook, that twist hooked me more than the actual book did. And I didn't realize that until sitting here writing my outline. I'm like, I want to know about the twist. I don't really care about all the stuff before it. I want to know what's going to happen with that twist. And that's why I'm going into it. So maybe that's the reason why she did it, is because there wasn't enough hook in the book that she decided to throw this thing in left field. But I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let's do it. Go for it. Yes. Spice rating on this, 1 chili pepper. There's some heavy petting. There's some kissies, but there's nothing really super graphic. There's a lot of allusion to the P and the V, but there's not. You don't ever see it. So very, very minimal on the steam and spiciness. So just be warned about that one. It's not a super heavy graphic one, but it is pretty cool. I have to admit, I gave this 4 stars, and I wasn't originally going to give it that, but the fact that I want to continue on with this series and know what the fucking twist, the twist gave it an extra star, like legit. I was going to give this thing 3 stars, and then that twist happened, and I'm like, fuck. But I love it when books do that. I do. I love it when that twist works, but it is an out of left field twist. I thought it was going to be something else when they said it, and it wasn't. So, yeah. Abbi's really good with the crazy ass twists, so I'm happy about it, and I'm definitely gonna continue on with it. So, yeah. And I did do this on audio as well. This was an audiobook for me, and the narrator was really, really good. Her voices were different enough for each character. Granted, the best friend's voice was irritating as fuck, but it was supposed to be, because the lines, I mean, even matched up, but it was super irritating. But I liked all the voices she gave the characters that suited every single character, and I really enjoyed that. I liked it. All right, and the last book that I literally finished in a day, over the weekend, I went on vacation, and I went to Collecticon in Kansas City, Missouri, and this book was my companion for the trip down there. Lifeblood by Amara Rae, and I finished this fucker in a day. This thing, okay, this thing was awesome. So this is a recommendation from Jen over the Book Refuge. I'll link her down below. Anybody who's been following me for a while knows that I absolutely love her, and I pretty much love all her recommendations, this included. I gave this fucker 5 stars. Let's get into this one. This was great. This was the best book to read while driving for 4.5 hours, because I didn't blink in this drive. Like, whatever, it was fine. This 4.5 hour drive was fine. The hotel stay was fine. I mean, it was great. Yeah. So this is the first installment in the Immortal Coven series. It is a paranormal romance with a fated mate trope and enemies to lovers trope. It does show, has multiple triggers that Amara Rae actually does put in the beginning of her book. She has a trigger warning note, which I don't actually see in a lot of the romance books that I've been reading. So this is actually the first one I've ever seen physically in the book, which I can take or leave that, but it's kind of convenient to know if you've never read this book, to know that there is a trigger page in here, so you could check it out to find out if you even want to read this book. But the triggers that are listed, blood play, there's violence, there's graphic sexual situations and language, there's psychological and physical torture, there's sexual assault not from the hero, and there is a lot of dominant and possessive language. So summary of this book, we follow Colette, and I pronounced it Mackay, so I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't exactly know. Colette is a hybrid life witch. She is born of a witch mother and a warlock father, as well as she's a member of a hybrid coven. All of the members of her coven are hybrids in some form or another. Mackay is a hybrid warlock, still in search of his clan, and he's currently initiate for the clan that he is working with when we are introduced to him. So he is not a full member of that clan. He's just initiate trying this clan out, finding out if this is where he belongs. There is a long-standing feud between warlocks and witches. We do get some of the history behind why. But essentially, it's witches are more powerful than warlocks, and warlocks are pissed the fuck off. Yeah, so that's kind of the synopsis that I got from the brief history that we got about that feud. Colette is kidnapped in a battle with Mackay's clan, and she is left to suffer with Makai. Now, this kidnapping is planned. It is not just by chance, per se. There is a plan behind this. And Makai, his gifts lend to procuring information in any way he sees fit. And Makai is not a very nice man. He's not a very tender man. He is not a very lenient man. He is a torturer by trade. He is a sadist by his own personal liking. He is that guy. And Colette is left to his personal devices. During one of their sessions, blood is transferred, and that is how they discover their fated mate. As the story progresses, we learn that there is a lot going on. This is not just the romance between Makai and Colette. This is the springboard for a much bigger storyline. But the romance in this book, it is fucking fantastic. It is great. It is phenomenal. But as the story progresses, we do find out more about this overarching plot that is going to, I believe, streamline through the entirety of this series, which I believe there's 4 books out now, currently, for it. I believe another one is supposed to drop here very, very soon, so there will be 5 out. What worked in this book? Makai's character. Fucking loved him. Love him, love him, love him. I cannot speak enough about him. I loved him. I loved how dominant he was. I loved his arc. His arc is amazing. He goes from this total fucking malicious douchebag to this possessive, protective lover douchebag to everybody but her. And I fucking love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, I love him. I love him so much. He's a new fave of mine. Yep. Yep. I love him. I also love that he's not stupid. I love the fact that he knows his craft, he knows his trade, he knows his magic. I fucking love that. I love that he's not just some like meathead jackass. He's very, very intelligent, and Amara Rae wrote him to be that way. He uses his mind to really figure Colette out. It's not just torture. I mean, he does torture her, and there is psychological and physical torture involved, but in a way, he is expressing how intelligent he is. And I really, really, really like that a lot. Very nice trait for him to have. The world building in this book, this is the platform for a much bigger story. So we do have a lot of world building, a lot of introduction to different concepts that I am not familiar with at all. So I really like the world that Amara Rae is creating in this book, and I'm really anxious to get further into it. We do not just deal with witches and warlocks. We have shifters, we have vampires, we have berserkers, and we have angels, we have demons, we have all of this paranormal stuff, and she's creating this massive world, and it's just, oh, it is stellar. I love it. I love the little bit that I got, and I am wanting more because I have so many more questions. So many more. I loved it. The family unit that Colette has in her coven, I really liked this concept that Amara Rae gave her. It's so, Colette in the beginning, she is sheltered, she is hidden, she is protected, but she still loves every single one of her sisters, even though they don't really think she can do anything. She still gives the best of herself to them. She still does what she can to protect her family as they protect her. And I really, really enjoyed that concept. I loved how close these sisters, these coven sisters, however you want to call them, they were. Really, really, really liked that concept in this book. It gave me this sense of like unity and this, I don't want to say found family because they were all raised together, but I really enjoyed that. She has blood family, but this is the family that, this is her family. And I really liked the strength between all the members and how they all worked together for common goals, and how all their skill sets played off each other, and just the combos among them were amazing. I thought that was great. Colette's character arc. This bitch has the biggest character arc I think I've ever seen in a long time, and I freaking love it. She goes from this meek, I can't do anything, I don't want to say shy, because I don't think she's shy, but this very passive, aggressive, let's just heal everybody and make everybody smooth and, no arguments or anything, to this fucking badass. It's like, listen, this is how it's happening. You don't like it? Get fucked. I don't care. This is it. And I like it. And I love it. And I love that I got to physically see that progression. It wasn't just like, bam, she was like that. She has this gift that she's not allowed to use. And throughout this book, you know about this gift and you start learning more and more about it. And it becomes this powerhouse that she has. And once she embraces it, she realizes that she has all these gifts that she's never really utilized. And now she's utilizing them. And she realizes she's like one of the strongest ones in this freaking coven. And it's awesome. God, she was amazing. I love her. Love her. I thought she was going to be really annoying in the beginning because she was so meek and mild. But Makai gets a hold of her and that shit goes out the fucking window. And I loved it. It's great. I love the fated mates. I have a love-hate relationship with fated mates because when you have like this thing of destiny, or it's fated that you're supposed to be together, fated mate trope, when you have this, it's already preordained, you're supposed to be together. A lot of authors will insta-love that immediately. It's like, you're fated mates, you're in love with each other, moving on. Amara Rae doesn't do that. Once they found their fated mates, that's when it turns into this enemies to lovers thing. You actually see the growth of their relationship. You see the trust and the love build between these two. And I really appreciated that because a lot of authors with fated mates don't do that. So she did a really good job handling that. And so you believe that this love at the end that they have is completely plausible. It's completely true. And it's not just based off of this preordained bond that they have. Although the bonding scene, shit was on point. That was hot as fuck, dude. I loved it. I loved it. Give me more of it. It's fantastic. What didn't work? The histories that Amara Rae gave us, I got kind of lost in them. I had to reread them a few times to make sure that I was understanding all the pieces and where, like, who belonged to who and who was related to who and why this happened. And I'm wondering if that's because there's so much going on in this book that I personally was getting lost. This might not be something that's a problem for other people, but for me, I had to sit there and reread it a few times to make sure I got all the pieces. All the pieces are there. They're all there. Everything does make sense. I just had to reread it a few times to make sure I got all the correct connections. So that might just be a thing for me. So keep that in mind. If books with a lot of moving pieces, you have to kind of reference back a lot, you might have to reference more than you're used to with a romance book for this one, because there is a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of history and it's all important to the story. However, Amara Rae does give us a bone and gives us a glossary term here in the back of the book, which helps kind of break some of that down and helps clarify some of the stuff that I got kind of lost on. So that was really, really nice. One last thing that might trigger people, the dominant language. Makai has this way of referencing you're male. Listen to me, female. He doesn't really ever use her name, and that might piss people off. I didn't care because I like the dominant language. I thought it was super hot because Makai does it through the entirety of the book, and it's fucking hot as hell, especially when he does it. Yeah, it's great, but it might rub people the wrong way, but it's a constant through the book. It's not just something he does to annoy people. He does it consistently throughout the book. He very rarely uses her name, or he calls her a witch, which ends up becoming, like a term of endearment, but he does reference that a lot, especially during the sexy time scenes. Yeah, he does that a lot. This third person male female thing, it gets used quite a bit, so it might annoy some people. Some people probably aren't going to care. I just wanted to point it out so you were aware of it. Sex scenes, I gave this a 4.5 chili peppers. This thing is super hot. This thing is fucking fire. yeah, this is not a panty moistener. This is, you were gonna wring these fucking things out. Yeah, that's exactly what this book is. This thing is, I need a fucking drink. I need a cigarette after this. I need some alone time. Yeah. Which made it really fun driving in a car. Reading this book, that was great. That made it all the more strenuous. It was great. I loved it. We do see some anal in this with some BDSM practices and a lot of blood play. That is a major component in this book because a lot of the magic that the warlocks use is a blood ruin magic. So there's a lot of transfer of that. There is one scene I want to point out. It's the repeat scene where Mackay forces Colette to repeat what he said about what he is doing to her at the moment and forces her to watch it. And that was the hottest scene. Oh my God, it was fucking fantastic. That was great. That was great FTD on that one. That was fan-fucking-tastic. That was great. That was an FTD moment. And that's gonna live rent-free in my head now. That's a rent-free scene. This thing was fantastic. 5 stars. Highly recommend it. Already picking up the rest of the series. It's in my Amazon cart like yesterday. Gonna buy them. It's gonna be great. Can't wait. Jen, again, excellent recommendation. This is why you're a fucking rock star. That is my week in reading, guys. And I just want to quickly shout out my vacation. This is something that's big for me, and I just need to bring it up. My vacation, I went to Collecticon in Kansas City, Missouri, and I got to meet literally my childhood crush. So after reading this super, super, super fucking hot book, I got to go meet the man that I have been crushing on since the 3rd fucking grade. And the original Red Power Ranger. Austin St. John. There he is with me. I have a picture with him now. And I cried. I fangirled. Didn't care. But I like to point out that while I was standing in line, this book was running through my head. These super hot scenes were running through my head. So yeah, there's that. I just wanted to point that out to you guys that, like, this stuff does literally run through my head 24/7, even when I'm meeting my literally childhood crush right here. So that's all I got for you guys today. I will see you guys all soon with another video. Have a good one. Bye.